Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this module. In this module, we are going to discuss a movie, A Time to Kill by John Grisham. So, the entire lecture is divided into different parts. In the first part, we'll talk about the background. In the second part, we'll talk about the synopsis. And the third part, we'll be dealing with the detailed analysis of the movie. So, let's start with the introduction part. As you know that John Grisham is a well-known author. His specialization is in legal thrillers. Before he reached success with the client, few people have known that he has earlier penned a morally compelling fiction, A Time to Kill. This novel has a film adaptation, but for purposes of analysis, the author has chosen the novel version instead because this covers all aspects of the story. A Time to Kill, based on the first novel by John Grisham, is a skillfully constructed morality play that pushes all the right buttons and arrives at all the right conclusions. It begins with the brutal rape of a 10-year-old black girl by two rednecks in a pickup truck. The girl's father kills the rapists in cold-blooded on their way to a court hearing and cripples a deputy in the process. The local white liberal lawyers, he finally agrees to defend him. The clan plots to gain revenge. Good, of course, triumphs, but we'll get back to that in a moment. Dear my students, I would also like to tell you that once you just go through the movie, you'll come to know that this is the best of the film version of, Grisham novels. I think, and it has been directed with skill by Joel Schumacher. If you just watch the movie, you'll come to know that Grisham recently attacked director Olive Stone, alleging that Stone's natural born killers, what he calls NBK, inspired, drugged out creeps to murder a friend of Grisham's. Stone should be sued by the victim's family. Grisham said, offering the theory that NBK, that means natural born killers, was to blame under product liability laws. Well, Grisham is a lawyer, and lawyers exist to file suits. But one might reasonably ask whether the creeps would have committed the murder without taking the drugs. One might also ask if Grisham forfeits his right to moral superiority by including a subplot in A Time to Kill that gives the Ku Klux Klan prominence and a certain degenerate glamour. Yes, Klan members are the villains, but to a tested mind, their secret meetings and compound rituals might be appealing. Talking about this story as a story, A Time to Kill works efficiently and effectively also. I will have to discuss certain plot points. So be warned, everyone in the county knows Carl Lee Haley killed the two men who raped his daughter, and many of them share his feelings. Even the crippled deputy blurs out under oath that he would have done the same thing. But can a black man get a fair trial after murdering two white men, even in the New South? The movie raises this question for all its worth, which isn't much unless the average audience thinks Hollywood will allow clan thugs to prevail over the hero. You're my secret weapon, the black man tells his white lawyer. You see me the way the jury will see me. What would it take if you were on the jury to set me free? As Brigands prepares his case and crosses are burnt on lawns, anonymous phone calls are made, and his wife moves their family to safety. Moving on to the next part, which is the synopsis. So let's talk about the synopsis part of this movie. As you know, two white racists, Billy Ray Cobb and Pete Willard, come across a 10-year-old black girl. Her name is, Tonya Haley, in rural Mississippi. They violently rape her and beat Tonya and dump her in a nearby river after a failed attempt to hang her. She survives and the men are arrested. Tonya's father, Carly Lee Haley, seeks out Jake Bryans, an easygoing white lawyer. Carly is worried that the man may be acquitted due to deep seated racism in the Mississippi Delta area. They discuss a similar case further south in which four white teenagers were acquitted of the rape of a black girl. Brygans admits the possibility that the rapists will walk free in this case as well. Carly acquires an M16 rifle, goes to the county courthouse, and opens fire. This results in the deaths of both rapists and also in the unintended injury of Deputy Looney, who has to have his leg amputated. Carly is soon arrested without resistance. Brigance agrees to provide defense for Carly for a much smallest amount of money than such a trial would usually require. He intends to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. In addition, the rape and subsequent revenge killing gain national media attention. The Ku Klux Klan begins to organize in the area. Freddie Lee Cobb, the brother of Billy Ray, calls Bragans and his family with death threats and organizes the formation of a Klan chapter in the county. The district attorney, Rufus Buckley, decides to seek the death penalty, and presiding judge over Omar News denies Bryans a change of venue. Bryans Brygans seeks help for his defense team from sleazy divorce lawyer and close friend Harry Rex Van. He seeks guidance from longtime liberal activist Lucien Wilbanks, a once great civil rights lawyer who was disbarred for violence on a picket line. Brygans is approached by Alan Rock, a fiery liberal law student from the University of Massachusetts, who belongs to, the ACLU. Braggins is initially reluctant to accept Alan's cooperation, but he later agrees to let her help with the case. The trial begins amid much attention from the media and public. The clan, which has a number inside the sheriff's department, burns a cross on Bragan's lawn. This incident causes an argument between Braggins and his wife to the effect that if Jake had heeded call Lee's warning, this would not have happened. The police evacuate Jake's family from their house. Braggins and the police capture one of the clan's members and they find a case with a bomb inside it. Braggins throws the bomb into the air where it explodes. This motivates Jake to send his wife and young daughter away while the trial continues. Dear my students, now let's try to analyze the movie in detail. As we have already talked about the synopsis, now let's talk about the analysis of the movie. As you know that it is a story of black girl who was raped by two white men, and in retaliation the father killed the two men. The 10-year-old black girl Tonya Haley was, ambushed on her way home from running errands by Pete Willard and Billy Ray Cobb, two fully grown white men. The two then proceeded to rape and physically hurt the girl, inflicting lasting injuries that girls her age would never fully understand. After violating Tonya, Pete and Billy Ray left her for dead under a bridge in the outskirts of the town, where fortunately some fishers folks found her and returned her to her family. Tonya's father, Carly Haley, he was a mere cotton mill laborer, was devastated upon finding out what happened to his youngest girl, because he is not convinced that justice works the way it should in own town, as compounded by a past case in which four white men were acquitted for raping a black girl. He decided to take matters in his own hands. Then, during Pete and Billy Ray's arraignment, Cardi hid in a broom closet somewhere in the courtroom, awaiting the arrival of his daughter's rapist. When the opportunity presented itself, Carly jumped out of the closet and shot at the perpetrators while laughing and screaming like a maniac. Unfortunately, he accidentally wounded the white man's Scott, Dipty Lune, which caused his leg to be amputated. This event signals the start of a highly publicized capital murder trial, pitting Jake Bryans with the help of his friends Will Banks, Harry Rex Warner, and law student Alan Rock against the season's district attorney Rufus Bagley. Several legal issues were brought up, such as change of venue of the hearing, mistrial, and tampering of the jurors, among others. In the end, one would wonder, would a poor black man win a case in a predominantly white county? And is justice the same with upholding of the law? The rape of Tonya Haley. If we just go further, we can say that in the story, a 10-year-old black girl was raped by two adults. According to USC Title 18 and under Section 2241, this act is aggravated sexual abuse with children. The atrocity committed on the young girl satisfied the requirements of aggravated sexual abuse with the children because, first of all, Tonya was under the age of 12, thus qualifying her as a child. The perpetrators also used force on Tonya when they apprehended her. After bringing her to a secluded area in the woods, they tied her to a tree in an unnatural position and continuously beat her. Because the perpetrators were very vocal about their hatred of Negroes, they verbally assaulted and insulted Tonya while hurting her. Although the two men's lambasting of the girl's race was beyond her understanding, nevertheless it aggravated and uh, heightened the man's violation of Tonya. The two even the two even urinated in her face. I mean, see how they did that, which is at the height of all insults and disrespect. Further, this act of verbal assault can constitute an act of threatening because even if the girl did not fully understand what the two men were talking about, it uh, induced fear in her. Because of the repeated act of violence committed on Tonya's young body, she was rendered unconscious after some minutes. Pete and Bill Ray then proceeded to take turns in having intercourse with Tonya, forcing their way into the young girl's frail body. This violation of the girl's body caused serious and lasting damages. Punishment for this crime is life sentence. It was never found out how Pete and Billy Ray were sentenced because prior to their arraignment, they have been shot dead by Kali. When Kali took justice to his own hands, after Tanya, after Tonya was treated for damages she sustained at the hands of perpetrators, her family was informed that along with trauma of the sexual abuse she went through, she might never bear a child anymore. As a father, Kali was devastated and wanted revenge. This prompted him to plot how to get back at Tonya's abusers, and this ended up with him shooting Peter and Billy Ray dead while they were being escorted to court. Dear my students, now you must have understood that this is clearly an example of first degree murder. According to Hill and Hill, it's generally a killing which is deliberate and premeditated. In the story, because Kali believed that the courts in his county mostly favor the whites, he started contemplating on how he could serve justice to his daughter. His shooting of the accused was not a random act of extracting revenge, nor was it spur of the moment. He carefully planned it prior to the day of his actual committing of the crime. Carly contacted his long-time friend and fellow Vietnam cat to ask a little favor from him. This favor turned out to be him borrowing one of Cat's stashed M16s when the arraignment was nearing. He carefully plotted his hiding place and even asked County Sheriff Ozzy was how and where the uh, accused accused are going to enter the building to the specific courtroom. During the day of arraignment, he patiently hid in a closet and bided his time. When he could already see a clear shot of his targets, he went out of his hiding place and shot them to death. This evidences that Kali was of sound mind and clearly planned the whole affair. He had the intention to kill the two white men, so he laid out a plan on how to do so and executed the plan almost perfectly. From his weapon of choice to his strategic killing point, all were clearly premeditated and well engineered and well planned. However, in his mad shooting spree, he accidentally shot a deputy Lune on the leg, causing irreparable injury. Talking about the insanity as defense, we can also say that because the brimming courtroom witnessed Kali's murder of the perpetrators, his counsel Jake Bryans strategized to make Carly appear insane as his alibi for committing the crime. Carly was opposed to this, as he was seemingly proud of killing the two men who have ruined his daughter's life forever. He even admitted that he somewhat enjoyed killing the two, but regretted his accidental shooting of Lune because he felt that justice was finally served. You see, a defendant can be acquitted of a crime when proved to be legally insane. By this, the defendant should be proved to be not of sound mind during the commission of the offense, as he or she is mentally incapable of having willful intent of the commission, said Charles Montaldo in the insanity defense. Angela Jarvis noted in the insanity defense a constitutional right that this defense has its roots on the concept of mens rea, which is the mental state of a person at the time of commission of the crime. This is vital component of commissions of a certain offense, especially of first degree murder, because premeditation and willful intent involve a sound mental state. If a person accused of first degree murder can be proved to be mentally incapable during the actual commission of offense, that person would be acquitted on grounds of being legally insane, meaning the person at the time of actual commission cannot discern what he or she is really doing because of unstable mind and or unfit mental state. You see, with the help of Lucian, Harry Rex, and Ellen, Jake aimed to prove to the people that Carly was not of sound mind during the actual commission of the uh, murders brought about by his being distraught at the fate suffered by her youngest girl, Tonya. Jake tried to prove that while Carly is not a thoroughly insane person, at the preceding at the proceeding days after Tonya's order, Carly started, you know, exhibiting different behavior and was apparently consumed by the uh, thought of wanting to take justice in his own hands. He showed signs of being overly high strung and stressed, thus eventually leading to his killing of his daughter's violators. This, according to Jake, was not a sound mental state because Kali was obviously under the impression that he can make matters in his own hands and that his judgment was clearly tempered with the pain of what his child has gone through. Mystical jury tampering and hate crimes. Because, Clanton is predominantly white county. A person's color highly affects how he or she is treated. Being a working class black man, Kali was a good as condemned for the crimes already because he killed two white, albeit notoriously known delinquent men. Adding to that is the fact that an open courtroom witnessed the carnage. For these reasons, Jake tried to appeal a motion for a change of venue without solid facts, backing it merely because it seemingly appears that the citizens and potential jurors have already judged the guilt of his client. So, compounding this notion is the deep seated racism instilled in the citizens because apparently Billy Ray's brother is a member of the Ku Klux Klan. So, as an act of retribution, he contacted several, inactive Klansmen and set up a network in Clanton to terrorize and potentially intimidate prospective jurors into convincing the black man. Several acts of intimidation have been committed in lieu of this, such as burning of, uh, crosses in backyards, serious assault on Jake's secretary's husband, burning of Jake's house, and ultimately abduction and physical assault on Jake's paralegal Alan Rowe. When Carly's trials nearing, a riot broke out in the court grounds, putting the Klansmen against the black supporters. This resulted in the voluntary manslaughter of the Klan leader Mickey Mouse. According to Hill and Hill, voluntary manslaughter involves killing at the height of passion, but it is not premeditated to distinguish it from murder, because this happened during the riot when the people started acting violently. Who actually committed it was not discovered anymore because the attack came from nowhere. So these acts of intimidation strengthened Jake's resolve to really push for a motion of change of venue because along with the potential jurors preconceived dislikes of black people, these acts might highly influence their verdict instead of trying the case with due process. Since we have already talked so much about this movie and the analysis part, now let's try to conclude the discussion. As you know that the central theme of the novel is racism. All crimes that were committed were in some way or the other connected to this them. Tonya was raped merely because she was black. Carly, in turn, took matters in his own hands because he was already feeling jaded at the thought of the apparently pro white criminal justice system in Clanton. Jake Bragans, his secretary's husband, and his paralegal Ellen were subjected to various hate crimes because the Ku Klux Klan has targeted them for their involvement in the defense of a black man. Some members of the Klan and some black protesters got hurt because of a riot that broke out because of their hatred for each other. The We can simply say that the actual scene in the novel was used to define and give a clear picture on what the crimes are because these represent what happens in real life. As a lawyer, Grisham was able to present real life uh, scene in the novel so that the readers can fully appreciate and understand the magnitude of the offenses and crimes omitted. In a nutshell, we can say that commission of crimes is as real as it gets. And from the this discussion, we can simply say that the people have different motivations for committing a crime, but these reasons should never justify the offense, especially if they are just emotionally driven. We can also say that, sadly, uh, crimes that are bloodly committed could be backed up by a certain ruling. So this is the end of my lecture. Dear students, you just watch this movie, and I'm sure when you watch the movie, you will get the idea of what we talked about today. So thank you very much.